Hi and welcome back to my channel. So I have just started reading a new book called The Whisper Man by Alex North, and it's a thriller, an adult thriller novel as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's YA, and I wanted to read this because I saw a lot of people online on BookTube and everything talking about his second book, or like the follow-up to this one called The Shadows, which apparently isn't like a sequel but just linked because I think the town where it happens they talk at some point about the town where this one happened and the serial killer from this one. That's all I know. But yeah, I've decided to pick this one up, and it's part of my TBR for my TBR game for the month of November. So I just thought I would do kind of just a casual vlog where I talk about whatever books I'm reading this week. So I'm reading this one, and I'm also reading Bunny by Mona Awad. So this is part of a buddy read, which I'm going to be talking in another video. So I'm just going to be vlogging about that at the same time. In this book, we follow a couple of people. I think first of all, there's a detective, and another character that we follow is a man called Tom Kennedy, and he feels very sad about the loss of his wife who died recently, and him and his son decide to move. His son Jake is quite young, I can't remember how old, and they decide to move to a small town in a new house because they can't stand to be in the house where she died. And we basically at the same time have mentions of a serial killer that striked years and years ago called the Whisper Man, and he used to basically whisper his victim's name in the night to lure them. And basically there's a new case of a kid that's I think 6 years old that disappears, and we follow this detective who joins in the search and kind of has a sinking feeling that it might be either copycat, or I think the serial killer in question is in prison, so it has to be like a copycat or something like that, or someone, you know, taking up the mantle, I guess, of the serial killer's work, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning and the premise of this book and what we're following so far.
Is this what you want now? Feels like you're looking for something better. Is this what you want now? Or is it because you can't forget her? I can't keep pretending it's not getting to me.
I've reached page 58 into The Whisper Man, and so far I am really liking it. I think the mystery is quite interesting. I want to know more. I want to know what's going on, because obviously what is happening, there's a new case of a little boy who disappeared. I'm not sure yet how I feel about all the characters. I'd say that the father of the kid that we're following, on the one hand, not the one who disappeared, but we're following obviously this other family with this widowed father and his child Jake. And it's really interesting because Jake is drawing pictures of this little girl next to him in the new house that they've just moved in, and he was also clearly talking to a little girl at some point, and then his dad came to pick him up and was like, well, there's no one here, and it sounds like an imaginary friend, but at the same time she's told him of this rhyme that is like really spooky. If you leave a door half open, soon you'll hear the whispers spoken. So she's taught him this rhyme, and Jake's dad is like, where would he have learned it? And so he's a little bit worried and kind of, I guess, scared at this little girl's potential existence as like a real person, because he can't even fathom anything else. But obviously as the reader we start thinking, a ghost. I don't know whether this is gonna turn out to be supernatural and whether there's actually gonna be a ghost. I didn't really think so when I read the summary, and when I saw reviews of the book, I kind of just thought it was just a plain thriller. So I'm wondering whether he's heard it somewhere else and there's gonna be like a reasonable explanation at some point or another, but in the meantime, I think that was really well done. It's quite spooky and you do wonder. But where I've just arrived, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but the main detective that we're following, whose name is Pete, he's not the main detective on the case right now, but he's been asked if he could like consult, I guess, and go and visit the previous serial killer in jail, because he's the only one that the serial killer in question accepts to see. And he's helping out and everything, and we're following him. And the reason why we're following him is because he was a detective, or the main detective, on the cases when they got solved, like all those years ago, I think 20 years ago, with the previous serial killer whose name was the Whisper Man. So he's basically reminiscing on those cases, and I don't know how I feel about him yet, because on the one hand, I like that we're following one of the cops and I think it's interesting, but on the other hand, it's all the cliches. Every single cliche you could think of, he's got them. Like, he's got, you know, the bottle of vodka that he refuses to open but puts in front of him like a ritual every time he's thinking back on the case, and it's like thinking of his dad who treated him like he wasn't worth anything, and can't stop thinking about this case. He's got like a picture, I guess, of one of the kids or something, and like it haunts him to this day, and just all the fucking cliches, and I just don't know how I feel about that yet, whether I'm gonna be okay with it, if it's gonna be subverted at some point and it's just, you know, to mislead us into thinking that this is the classic washed out cop who can't get over this old case, or something else. I like the writing style. I think it's quite fast-paced, it's well written, it's flowy, everything I like. And the writer definitely knows how to end a chapter on the right amount of cliffhanger, so I'm really liking that, and definitely want to know more and read more. Finished The Whisper Man by Alex North, and I rated it 4 stars. So I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought it was such a fun ride. I mean, as fun as it can be when you're reading a thriller. It was really enjoyable to read. I felt like the pace was so good. It was like slow at the right moments and fast at the right moments. I enjoyed all the different characters in it, and the fact that really I feel like Alex North writes them really well, and you go in depth into their personalities, so that was great. And there's a huge commentary on fatherhood in this book that was really interesting, and I really loved how it just kept coming back, and a lot of things were linked together and linked to that overall overarching theme of fatherhood. So I thought that was really well done. So generally enjoyed this book. Would definitely recommend if you like a good thriller, and I definitely think I'm going to pick up the next one, which is The Shadows, which I know is not a sequel, but has some references to The Killer and the Whisper Man or The Town or something, so I know that there are some references from one book to the other, which I think are going to be quite interesting, but I know that it's not a sequel. One of the things that I thought could have been done slightly better, and the reason why I wouldn't give it a 5-star review but still really enjoyed it, is the fact that it's quite a simple mystery. It's just a simple thriller in the sense that there's no huge twist. There's like a villain and you're just like slowly given the hints and figuring it out as the detective is figuring things out at the same time as them. So it's not like a huge mystery, it's not like you're expecting big twist upon twist towards the end. And that is fine, and if you're into that kind of stuff, I totally would recommend this book for you. But if you're looking for like, you know, big surprise at the end, big twist, then that probably isn't the type of thriller for you. And I don't think that it's necessary in every thriller. Like, I still really enjoyed it, I still think it was really well written, but I guess it felt slightly lacking, not in a huge sense, not like, oh my god, this book, you know, is so bad because it doesn't have that, but just like, oh, it would have been a 5-star for sure if it had had like that big twist reveal towards the end or something. And because there wasn't, I was just, you know, it was good. But I would say one of the reasons I still think it's like brilliantly written is because I just did like a video where I read 3 horror books for, you know, I read 3 of each genre, which is a little series that I do, and none of those horror books scared me, and none of them was really horrifying. They were good fun to read, to be fair, and I really enjoyed them, but none of them were actually truly scary. And reading this book, there were so many passages that made me think, ooh, that is potentially more horror, and it's doing it so much better than these other books, because like, from the beginning, you know that the little kid that is in the story, Jake, he has imaginary friends, and it almost feels like they're ghosts and they're real. And there's several moments like he's just basically speaking to himself in the voices of his imaginary friends. And at some point he's saying that there's the boy on the floor who wants to play with him, and then his dad overhears him saying to himself in a deeper, creepier voice, I want to scare you. And like all of those moments were like, oh, proper like chills of creepiness that I thought were really well done. So definitely not technically a horror book, but actually did a better job at horror than some of the horror books that I have read. I think that's it. I think that's it for this little mini vlog. I just kind of wanted to be able to plunge into another book and talk about it without having like a long ass 30 minutes long video or something. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please leave a like, consider subscribing, ringing the bell, all that jazz, and I will see you guys next time.